On Tuesday, and I'll let you see it, I kind of made this joke about the reaction to Trump's State of the Union. I didn't think it would actually drive anybody to what you would call doing illegal stuff. The breaking news, and I'm not sure why this isn't plastered all over Fox News, because if it was well, let me give you the story. House Speaker Mike Johnson's Chief of Staff, Hayden Hayes, was arrested on a DUI charge, driving under the influence. We don't know if it's alcohol or drugs. That was on Tuesday night after President Trump's address to Congress. Law enforcement officers have informed. Now, he's done a DUI. He's not going to be the first person to be charged with a DUI, not the last. But my point being is Johnson is somebody who is literally pointing the finger at everybody else, saying, get your life in order, when you'd actually think he would take time to, what's the word? Keep his own house, as an example. And my point being, if this was a Democrat or anything related to a Democrat, it would be all over the place. You're hardly hearing anything about it. Why is that? I repeat, Mike Johnson's Chief of Staff, Hayden Hayes, arrested, driving under the influence. Do they really, that's how bad the Trump speech was? Johnson's own team couldn't stomach it. They had to take to alcohol. Why couldn't he get an Uber? This above the law thing, yeah. Comment section all yours.
And I did it with intentionality. The president indicated that he had a mandate. I said to the president, you do not have a mandate to cut Medicaid. I have constituents who need Medicaid. They will suffer and some will die if they don't get Medicaid. I heard the speaker when he said that I should cease. I did not, and I did not with intentionality. It was not done out of a burst of emotion. I was emotional about it, but I did it with intentionality. I think that on some questions of conscience, you have to be willing to suffer the consequences. And I have said I will. I will suffer whatever the consequences are, because I don't believe that in the richest country in the world, people should be without good health care. I stood up for my constituents then. I'm standing up for my constituents now. I am grateful to Mr. McGovern for what he has said. I'm grateful to those who have been standing with me. But I will tell you, I appreciate you. No anger. The officers who escorted me out, they were kind to me. I don't blame the speaker for anything. Friends, I would do it again. I have to be candid with you. I'm not trying to in some way insult you. This is a matter of principle. This is a matter of conscience. There are people suffering in this country because they don't have health care. I'll close with this. On some issues that are matters of conscience, it is better to stand alone than not stand at all. This is where I stand.
Kind of like what I saw on the floor of the House last night. I mean, I love the little popsicle sticks with the little construction paper signs. Those are pretty special.
Trying to spend less money.
And yeah, save on money. I appreciate you didn't want to be extravagant. That I think I'm going to draw a response here. But that's really what we saw on display last night. Sophomoric, childish, not even sophomoric. More juvenile than that. Attempts to disrupt the joint speech. Now yield back. Well, I'm waiting for the...
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Thank you kindly, Mr. Chairman. Let me start with the digression to address my friend from Arizona. First of all, I'm delighted that we were able to show you what a nonviolent protest looks like, and I appreciate the fact that you praised people for bringing signs and popsicle sticks rather than steel pipes and Confederate battle flags and Trump flags to beat people up.
But this is truly a wake-up call for this chamber. The lack of decorum has reached a new low when the President of the United States cannot even come into our chamber invited and complete his speech without the interaction that we saw last night.
And now, Mr. Speaker, Republicans have the nerve to come down here and censure anyone. Republicans moved heaven and earth to come down here and defend the honor of their boss, Donald Trump. But they won't lift a finger for their own constituents. Look in the mirror and censor yourselves. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Members are reminded to refrain from engaging in personalities towards the President.
There was a breach of dignity and decorum in this chamber last night. But it wasn't Al Green. It was the President of the United States who stood at that podium and delivered a manifesto of pure fantasy. He says he wants to make America affordable again. Well, inflation just hit a 7-month high, and his new trade war will cost families $2,000 more a year. Trump says he wants to balance the budget. His plan would add $3 trillion to the deficit to give billionaires another tax cut. Let me repeat that again. To give billionaires a tax cut. All these cutbacks, all these firings are going to fund tax cuts for billionaires. He says Social Security is paying benefits to millions of people over 100 years old. Totally wrong. Debunked 100 times. He says he cares about childhood cancer. He slashed the funding for child cancer research. He says his tariffs are good for farmers. Last time he did this, farmers lost $27 billion. He says he supports law enforcement. He pardoned the people who beat police officers on January 6th. He pardoned them. People who tried to overturn the election. People who brutally beat the men and women who protect us in this chamber every single day. Just one outrageous statement after another, and not a single peep from my Republican friends, nothing. And now, Mr. Speaker, Republicans have the nerve to come down here and censure anyone. I am the ranking member of the damn Rules Committee, and I have a question. Why are the rules only applied to Democratic members? Are Republicans ready to censure their own members for wearing campaign hats in the chamber last night? That's a violation of the rules. Are they ready to censure the Republican member who got caught voting from California last month, which is a violation of the House rules? He wasn't even in the chamber. Hell, he wasn't even on the East Coast. Are these people going to be censured? Of course not, because their outrage is all BS. Mr. Speaker, I just want to say the virtue signaling we're seeing from Republicans right now is insane. I'm sorry, who was it who yelled, "You lie," at President Obama during his address? A Republican. Who was it that heckled President Biden, standing up and ranting like lunatics? Republicans. Go back and look at the videos. It was embarrassing. And nothing was done about that.
Before, in my career here, I have never, ever seen a member of Congress escorted from the floor of the House by the Sergeant at Arms. It's never happened in my career. And I don't want to see it happen again. With that, Mr. Speaker, I reserve.
Gentleman from Washington reserves. The gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Well, you know what's never happened in my career? A President of the United States coming before a joint session of Congress and insulting members by name individually, shouting slurs at people. I've never seen that before. I mean, maybe would the gentleman agree with me that Trump deserves a censure for calling my senator from Massachusetts a slur? Would that be appropriate? Yeah, Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States yesterday said a lot of things. He used a personal insult against the sitting senator from my home state. And the gentleman who just spoke, he's upset that someone stood up and asked him not to cut Medicaid? Really? Mr. Speaker, there has been a lot of outrage in this chamber about an interruption last night. Republicans are furious that someone dared to speak up. Well, you know what? I agree that there was a violation of dignity and decorum of this chamber, and it came from the podium where Donald Trump was standing. He gave one of the most bitter, angry, divisive speeches ever delivered in this room. No vision, no solutions, just grievance after grievance after grievance. It was 90 minutes of pure propaganda. It made me sick. Zero ideas to fix the egg shortage, zero solutions for inflation, zero plans to lower rent, zero about prescription drugs, zero about caring for our veterans. He didn't even mention them. Zero.
All right, troops, brace yourselves for the State of the Union address review. Jaw drops. Straight for the man who's, well, he's put the panic in Hispanic, President Trump himself. It's the only speech where fact checkers are busier than a one-armed wallpaper hanger. A speech that was so packed with alternative facts, even Pinocchio was taking notes. Anyway, here's our 24/7 exclusive laugh-packed rebuttal that I don't even think Conan O'Brien's lawyers would touch with a 10-foot pole. Welcome to the State of Confusion address. Tonight, we witness President Trump deliver his State of the Union, which he might as well have called it the State of Delusion. It's the only speech the fact checkers are seriously busier than a one-armed wallpaper hanger. Elon's space oddity and Trump's terra firma fantasy. That's what we saw. First off, Trump praised his president, Elon Musk, who seems to be on a mission to make Mars habitable for humans because Earth might be too damaged by the end of this term. Trump hailed him as a pioneer, forgetting to mention the only thing Elon has actually pioneered lately is how to crash stocks with a single tweet, or X, whatever it's called. It's a bird, it's a plane! No, it's just Elon's latest business model going up in flames. Trade wars, the art of losing deals. Trump boasted about winning trade wars so much that even his tariffs started to feel like participation trophies. Who knew that the best way to win a trade war, according to Trump, was to surrender faster than you can say, made in China? Melania's independence saga continues. Melania, bless her, tiny violin. Heart. She's taken social distance into a whole new level, moving to a different wing of Mar-a-Lago. At this rate, she'll need a visa to visit Trump in the Oval Office. Fox News, the lapdog media. Oh dear. If flattery were a sport, they'd be the perennial Olympic champions. They brown-nosed so hard during the dress, you'd think they were digging for oil. I'm serious, if brown-nosed were an Olympic sport, they'd have won more gold than Fort Knox. They literally covered Trump's speech with such glowing admiration, you'd think he just solved quadratic equations live on air, instead of mixing up the nuclear codes with his Twitter password. Something like that. Zelensky and the art of being ignored. Trump's advice to Zelensky about handling Russians was like, well, asking a fire hydrant how to deal with dogs. Subtle and oh so helpful. Just like his health policies. The unspoken State of the Union highlights. Trump forgot to mention a few minor details in his speech. I know. The wall is now just a line in the sand drawn with a Trump-branded golf club. What happened to Mexico? The new health plan. Spoiler alert. It's an apple a day and a pat on the back from Dr. Oz. Yeah. Actually, the new healthcare plan is called Survival of the Fittest. May the odds be ever in your favour. His climate change plan involves buying a fan if it gets too hot. Sorry. And as for his immigration policy, if you can dodge a wrench, well, you can dodge a border patrol. Oh, one of those planes dropping from the sky. Question. What's weaker, Marco Rubio or Trump's golf handicap? Honestly, it's a toss-up after watching that State of the Union address. Marco's been so ineffective, he makes ghost employees look busy. He's like the appendix of the political world. No one's really sure what he does or why he's there. He loves the sofa like J.D. Vance. In conclusion, If Trump's presidency were a movie, it'd be called Dumb and Dumber, now with more X, as in Twitter. Remember, every time Trump tweets, a fact checker loses their wings. In fact, if Trump's speeches were like the one tonight, any more detached from reality, it would need its own zip code. Here's to another year of tweets, X's, tantrums, maybe a trade deal or two, or war, provided they're negotiated at the kiddie table. Let me just say, after watching that, if you're feeling down about politics, just imagine Trump and Elon playing chess, where every move, well, it's a checkmate against logic.